Have you ever felt worse after meditating? Supposedly, this practice is supposed to make you feel calmer and reduce your stress and anxiety, but you swear it does not do that and it does not work for you. You're not alone, because today in this video, I'm going to talk about meditation burnout. We've all been there. We've all tried to meditate every single day. We get on it and then it becomes a chore. We get off and you just get tired of it. And yet, here's everybody talking about how great meditation is. The yogis, since the beginning of, well, I don't want to say the beginning of time, but since a long time ago, you got now the scientists coming on saying it does, releasing all these chemicals that makes you feel so good and all this kind of stuff. But you swear meditation just does not work for you, or you've tried so many times to just stick to it. You started, you stopped, you started, you stopped. I went through that journey. I was on that road. It took me so many years to actually get into the consistent practice that I have now. And so in this video, I'm going to share some very important lessons that I had to learn to reframe, to understand, to gain wisdom, to actually know what meditation is supposed to be like and and how to integrate it into life and how to look at it, how to perceive it. I started meditating super young. I think I was 11 or 12, middle school years. And I literally was just so mind blown by this existence, just this, like, how am I in my head, knowing that I'm in my head, feeling myself in my head, and knowing the outside world, knowing people, knowing things, knowing ideas. How does knowing work? How does being aware work? Like, what is this? What's going on, right? It's something that is very easy to take for granted, right? It's like, yeah, we're here, we're doing this thing, and that's it. But really, when I was young, I was like, I don't know what this is. Like, I know what it is in the sense that I am me, but I was just like, how am I happening? Like, how is this me functioning that I am having this experience? And I was very curious about that. And eventually I found meditating, and it just clicked. So in the early years, and still to a very large extent today, I'm meditating to understand the nature of who I am, right? Understand the nature on a deeper level of the thing that designed me, the being, the thing, whatever, I don't know what words to use, but how was I created to function this, right? What are the underlying principles that guide this experience that I am having, right? And it's like tapping into that. So in the beginning, I was literally, just when I felt like exploring that, um, that was when I meditated. And young me, just so joyful, right? When you're a kid, even middle schooler, like, yeah, there was, middle school trauma and then high school trauma and stuff, just as a normal teenager was experiencing. But life was easier back then, right? There wasn't burnout and there wasn't existential dread and there wasn't these heavy emotional tolls. Like, sure, we were getting traumatized back then, but life didn't feel like a chore, and there was just this youthful joy that was still kind of there from my childhood, right? And so I didn't like look at the life changes of like less stress, less anxiety, avoiding burnout in your work, and being able to have joy and patience and calmness of mind, right? When I was a middle schooler, I didn't care about being patient. Like, I didn't care about being mindful. I didn't like these aren't kids. These aren't things I was concerning myself with, but I was concerning myself with who the heck am I, which is kind of ironic. But anyway, so I started like that, and middle school, high school years, I never made the connection in my head that when I meditated, my life benefited, right? I had less anxiety, all these things that you hear about meditation. I wasn't expecting to get things out of it beyond like, I'm doing this to just see how my mind is working and how I'm functioning within myself. And to this day, I still do it, a large part of that. But what's changed is now also the daily maintenance things that it helps with really plays a large role. And is actually what has made me stick to a daily meditation practice, right? And so I used to think, Like I would be meditating, I would feel good, my daily life would feel good. I would stop meditating, and then after a month, 2 months, the anxiety would come back, the dullness, the agitation, just in like on a daily time frame, like every moment of the day, and regardless of whether I was in a good time in my life, whether my external circumstances were good or not. But just this level of tension comes back when I'm not having a daily meditation practice. And at that time, I didn't know that, right? I was just like, it's something else. And then this negativity would build up, and I'm like, oh man, I really need to get back to meditating because I have too much stress and I've got too much anxiety. And then I would go back, and then I would meditate for a while and meditate, and then the stress would start to melt away and the anxiety would go, and then I would start taking it for granted, and then I would be like, well, no, my life is good now, right? I've been meditating 3 months in a like every day for 3 months, but that doesn't matter because my life is good, everything is good, my work is good, my relations are good. I don't need meditation. You get a little bored, and then I stop and I hop off, and then for a couple months everything's chill, and then month 4, 5, 6, 7, however long, I that tension just comes back. That tension that had nothing to do with external stuff. It was just literally me in my mind making it. So the signs of meditation that would kind of lead to me stopping was it started to feel like a chore, right? In the beginning, when I would restart the cycle of meditating, I had so much stress and anxiety built up that when I sat to meditate, I would feel instantaneous relief, right? And I would be like, oh, it's working, it's working. Then, as I'm meditating daily, and this store of daily stress goes down and it gets to a more manageable level, I would start to feel like meditation was a chore because now I'm feeling less and less benefits in the sense that I've been meditating 2, 3 months in a row. My daily stress is much lower. My daily anxiety is much lower. And so each practice, I was getting less out of it in the sense that, if my stress was already here and it just goes here, it doesn't feel like that much. But when it was here and it dropped, by like 50%, that felt huge. So once it like settled and the anxiety and the stress get to a manageable, tolerable level, I started to feel like meditation was a chore. Um, and so that is a sign of not having the right understanding of what meditation is, or how to judge meditation. And it took me a while to learn that because after many cycles of starting and stopping and starting and stopping, I came to the conclusion that yes, meditation's necessary if I want to be happy inside, if I want to be stress free. And not that I don't get any stress, but if I want my stress to be manageable, and I want to keep the balance of my mind, and I want to be in control the whole time with any emotions that arise, and being able to just shrug things off my shoulder and not like carry stress with me throughout the rest of the day, I came to the conclusion that I had to meditate every single day. So one mistake that I saw myself doing when I was younger, and this isn't again like until much later that I realized this, was I was judging meditation incorrectly, or the way that I was perceiving what meditation was and what it did. I had a wrong view of it. I had a wrong understanding of how to measure that. So I'll give you how I was before, and this might be how you also view meditation. I used to view meditation as, what is it giving me in the time that I'm practicing, right? And back then, I might meditate for 20 to 30 minutes. So I would judge it based on, what did I get out of these 20 to 30 minutes, right? How much stress did I let go of? Or even forget that, how did I have any fun? Did I just work my ass off? Did I just push, push, and push? Did I come out more stressed than I went in because I was beating myself up for being distracted and like meditating wrong completely? But one of the things was just judging the meditation as if it was that 20 to 30 minute or however long you might be doing it, and not seeing the bigger picture. That was my not like big mistake that I was making. Not seeing the bigger picture and judging the session as a standalone thing, as if it's by existing by itself. And what I learned, the correct way to look at it, and now as I reflect, and really what keeps me going even when meditation's boring. Like I'll be honest, right? My meditation sits are different. Sometimes I'll have periods where it's just a freaking struggle, and I'm barely holding it in, and other times it's flowing so smoothly, the concentration's there so easily, I go so deep. And sometimes it changes from meditation to meditation. Like I'll meditate in the morning, it's one way. I'll meditate in the evening, it's one way. Other times it's long stretches of the same, like long stretches. Like lately, for the last maybe 2 months, I have just had to do, as a Vipassana practitioner, I just have had to do Anapana, which is just focusing on my breath. Imagine for 2 months, somebody who's been meditating for years every single day, I have to do Anapana every single hour in the morning, every hour in the evening for a couple months. And then about last week, I started to my body started opening up and I can do Vipassana. I can focus on my sensations. And now for this past week, it's just been amazing concentration, super fast, no struggles, no tensions. And it's like, so the practice itself and how it feels in the moment of meditating is one thing, and it can be hard and it can be easy, but what keeps me coming back, and the right way to look at meditation benefits, is I've started to look at how I am the rest of the day, right? Whether I'm having a super concentrated meditation session, whether I'm just having a super distracted meditation, and bad meditation versus a good meditation, I've started to just see how am I affected by this practice the rest of the day. And usually, even with a more distracted meditation session, the benefits are there in the daytime, right? I feel more energized. I feel calmer. I feel more aware. I feel more mindful. I feel more ready to handle the vicissitudes. Is that what Goenka says? That's my first time using that. But anyway, I'm able to be ready for the challenges, and challenges don't seem daunting. Things go wrong and I'm ready for it. And this feeling lasts the whole day. And I know that this feeling comes from the meditation practice. So although let's say I meditate in the morning, I might have had a struggling meditation session, those 20, 30, for me, it's an hour. I might have a bad meditation session, but the rest of the day I will feel the effects. And so I've started to look at not how are my meditation sessions, and are my meditation sessions improving? Am I building my focus so that moment by sit by sit I'm doing stronger and stronger? Because when you're let's say when you're working out and gaining muscle, you expect every week, every 2 weeks to be able to lift a little more, until you can just do hundreds and hundreds of pounds. Or if you're a runner, right? This week you're running a mile. Next week maybe it's 1.1, 1.2, and then 1.3, 1.5, 2. It just keeps building. But with meditation, it's not like that. It's not a linear progress as these other things are in life. And so it's like coming to understand this is not a linear progression, and to not judge the sit based on just what's happening in the time that you're sitting, but to judge it on how it improves your life. And that was hard, because I was talking about earlier in the beginning, I used to associate how I felt in the day-to-day to other things, and not necessarily to meditation. And yes, other things also affect my mood and all of that stuff, but I came to quickly, actually very slowly, understand that meditation's benefits had a very specific kind of feel to them that I've now been able to distinguish. I'm able to say, okay, this feeling is from me, drinking my water. Like now, now that I'm a bit older, if I don't drink enough water, there's a certain amount of lethargy that comes into my system. If I stay up until midnight, oh my God, I will be tired the next day. And I know that that feeling is associated with me staying up till midnight or 1 a.m. Or like now it's I'm so sensitive. If I haven't had veggies in a couple of days, I'll know like like I've become sensitive to be aware to be like, okay, this is from I need some veggies, right? I need some freaking broccoli in me right now. And so like this, I've started to build and to be able to say, okay, these set of symptoms or experiences that I'm having are caused by this, right? And for me, the set of what meditation causes, I've come to really understand it and be like, all right, I know distinctly this is what causes it. And when this feelings are missing or they're replaced with these other feelings, it's because I have not meditated. And it was just kind of slowly building that experience and, keep like kept meditating, kept going off and on, where I was able to be like, okay, I know how to judge my meditation now. I know what happens to me, like what happens to me as a life when I have meditation and when I don't have meditation. I feel more full when I have meditation. When I don't, I feel emptier. I feel like internally I am incomplete or unsatisfied. And they always say never look for external things to complete you, right? Like if you're going to a relationship thinking it'll make you whole, you're gonna mess up the relationship. If you think going to work and that your job is what's gonna give you ultimate fulfillment in life, and it's like, oh, just work your ass off at work and you'll die happy. Well, that's not the case with it, right? It's all about internally being enough for yourself. And what that really means is like feeling good inside. But not like, oh, you just take drugs and feel good, or you do this and that feel good, but like really you feel connected, fulfilled, you understand who you are. You understand what life is and how you define things and how you give meaning to things, right? And you have these deeper wisdoms about who you are. And so let's get back on track too. I feel like I've just been um, talking a little bit. So one of them is letting go of your understanding of what a good meditation sit is and really changing your expectations. And I would argue one does need expectations, right? If I didn't expect that meditation would benefit me, I wouldn't meditate, right? And so on one hand, you do need some expectations that this practice will benefit you, but I think what you can change and what has helped me change is, like I was saying earlier, change that perspective of if instead of expecting a meditation session, a 20-minute, 30-minute, however long, to go a certain way, like let go of that expectation. Be able to sit in the meditation with equanimity, right? As Vipassana practitioners, and this YouTube video channel is all about Vipassana, as taught by S.N. Goenka. One important thing that Goenka really just mentions over and over and over again is equanimity, right? Equanimity and awareness are the two uh, feathers? No, the two wings. That's what it is. The two wings of the bird, and they must be equal in strength so that the bird can fly. And that is really important, that equanimity. And I'll just tell you a few things about, what I've come to learn about what equanimity actually means to me. You first hear it as a word and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Being equanimous means maintaining the stability of your mind, not overreacting, not underreacting, not reacting at all, but just being equal, like holding it without judgment, without pushing it away or without pulling it in, without craving and without aversion, just simply holding the experience, holding the thought, holding the idea, holding the thing outside, holding the person, holding the situation, all of that. Just holding it without fearing it, right? With no emotions, just I am holding this. So in the beginning, I used to be like, yeah, it makes sense. I didn't really care about that, right? I was like, yeah, equanimity, blah, 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 blah. This is meditating. I need to focus on my meditation. I gotta be aware of my breath and my sensations, and that's what's important. I don't really like I wasn't against equanimity, but I just didn't really understand how important it was. And so in this segment, I'm gonna try to explain how important it is, and it's really important. So why it's important is when you're meditating, there's really two things that we practice, which are the two wings that he's talking about, right? Awareness and equanimity. And they have an interesting relationship, is what I've noticed. When your awareness, and to simplify it, I'll just say your focus, right? If you're super focused, you could either be super focused or you could be not focused at all. And then of course it's a spectrum, right? It could be moderately focused, strongly focused, weakly, all of that good stuff. Um, and then equanimity. Equanimity, less than a scale. It's just a state of being. And yeah, I guess you could be like a little less reactive if you are being reactive, like if you're holding a spider and before you used to just freak out and climb out the window, but now you're just like staying in the room, but you're still like in fear. That, I guess, you are being less reactive and a little more equanimous. And then maybe you're holding it and you're still like burning inside, but at least you're like a little more equanimous, and so on. So I guess equanimous too is um on a scale like that. And so the most important thing though is the relationship between the two when it comes to the practice and when it comes to outside the practice. So in the practice, what I've noticed is they have an inverse relationship. And what that means is when one is high, one is low. And when one is low, one is high. So let me give an example. When I'm on a 10-day meditation retreat, and it's like day 5, 6, or 7, and my mind can start to stay focused for a whole hour straight, right? Like just being with sensations or being with the breath, mainly sensations on, day 6, 7, whatever. When the mind becomes that focused, when the awareness becomes that focused, equanimity is automatic. Like no effort needs to be put into equanimity because you're so focused that you're not reacting at all. There's like no way for you to react because there's no space for you to react because you're in the flow. You are so hyper focused. All you can feel is that you're not having thoughts. None of this is arising, or if they are, they're just kind of very in the background, and the main focus is this. And this doesn't happen too much, at least for an hour straight when I am, in my regular 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening sits. But just to illustrate, at that time when the focus and the awareness are super sharp, equanimity is automatic. You don't have to worry about it. Now, as the focus does go down, like let's say when I'm sitting in the morning or in the evening at home, I'm a lot more distracted. I do not have uninterrupted 1 hour of focus. Like it's just maybe a few seconds, maybe a few minutes. More in that range of seconds to minutes versus minutes to hours, as happens in later parts of the course for me at least. And so as the awareness and the strength of awareness and focus decreases, the need for equanimity, or the need to put effort into equanimity, or the need to be intentional, that's what it is. The need to be intentional with equanimity becomes higher and higher. So when I'm having my focus is just going in and out, lots of thoughts are coming up, I have to be really intentional about being equanimous. Like I have to really try to be equanimous. It doesn't just happen automatically, like when I'm just 100% focused for extended periods of time. And this is what people judge as a bad meditation. And the reason they're judging it as a bad meditation is because they're only using focus or awareness as the barometer of the success of the meditation. And this is what actually changed to contribute to the beginning where I was talking about changing how you judge meditation and how you view it, not just as the session, but as the whole of you across the whole day and months and all that. And so it's really understanding that when the focus goes down and the mind changes the qualities of focus so that it's much harder and you're much more distracted, this is a chance to build equanimity. And I would argue that this is a better chance to actually make your life as a whole better than when you're hyper focused, than when it's easily focused. Now they have their both they both have their places, right? But what I've come to really appreciate is things are, when you're distracted and you're having all these thoughts, things are going wrong, for lack of a better term. Just stick with me. And it's you're developing the skill of equanimity of, can I embrace this just as it is? Like, how do I hold these distractions? Do I judge myself? Or am I holding it with acceptance, with purity? Am I accepting it without disappointment, right? Without regret, without worry for, oh my God, am I going to spend the whole time in my session sitting like this? Can I hold it? And when we are developing this equanimity, it's like, oh, so these meditation sessions where there's just a lot of thoughts popping up, or just my focus is so weak that it just kind of spizzes, it doesn't stay focused. It's giving you a chance to build your equanimity, which is an important skill. And earlier when I was saying it might even be more important than being focused, what I was alluding to is, when you're in real life, equanimity is what will help you the most, right? So when you're going in your day-to-day life, you're working, you don't necessarily need more focus. Like, you don't necessarily need to pinpoint drop on a single word on your monitor to be able to hyper focus like you do when you're deep in meditation. Day 8, it's just so subtle, you're in so deep. That necessarily won't help you in your day to day. When you're listening to somebody, you don't need to hyper focus on their right eyeball, because that's not what's going to benefit you in the real world. Um, it does in other ways. You're transcending much deeper into your mind to be able to gain the wisdom about the nature of reality, and it helps you in that way, right? But not in like a very straightforward way. But with equanimity, it is helping you in a straightforward way, because in life, things will not go your way, right? Things will go the way that they want to go, right? Turbulations will come, trouble will come. And how you manage that is directly impacted by how equanimous you can be. If your equanimity is weak when, your problem arises at work, something goes wrong, you're in trouble in your relationships, when stuff happens, if you're not able to remain equanimous and you lose the stability of your mind, then the actions that you start to take from that unstable place, from that overreactive place, maybe you're even having a full-on panic attack and you're not even able to respond in any way, it'll be less efficient, right? It's not going to be most likely the correct response, right? If you're super angry, you're probably not going to be saying the right things coming out of your mouth, right? You're going to lose the balance of your mind. You're going to get overwhelmed, and then you're probably going to make the situation worse. Equanimity counters this, right? Equanimity makes it so that you can feel the intense emotions, but you don't lose the stability of your mind, and it doesn't overwhelm you to take over, so that you can feel the anger or the stress or, right, whatever is happening, but then you remain equanimous. And this is directly tied to the skill that you're building in your meditation session when you're practicing to be equanimous with whatever is happening in your meditation practice. And I think this is where most people fail in their meditation practice, is they expect meditation to go away, to go like a specific way that they want, that they think is ideal, or they think meditation, like other skills, is a linear thing where your focus should increase by small bits, bigger and bigger, so that at some point you're just able to focus infinitely. Which, if you're a monk and you go on a lifelong silent retreat, I completely agree. But being a householder, living life, doing other things, that's not how your brain, like, that's not how it's going to work, that linear progression. And so it's really coming to appreciate the bad meditation sessions to build this skill of equanimity that will 100% help you in your daily life, right? And so it's changing how you view what the practice is. And it wasn't until then, like I used to think that it was all about the focus in my meditation practice, that if I wasn't focusing and I wasn't having consistent focus, I was failing at meditation. And I would try so hard that sometimes I like burn myself out. I just burn myself out from literally trying too hard to meditate because I had this idea that, oh, it's all about focus and it's all about focus. But what my mind has taught me and what my experience has taught me is it's time for focus when your mind says it's time for focus. And it's time for, excuse me, it's time for distraction when your mind says it's time for distraction. You don't decide. And that's like one thing I had to learn. Just because you show up does not mean you're going to be focused. It's almost like your mind has a plan of its own, and you just have to come with open arms to say, okay, I wonder how my meditation today is going to be. It can be like this, it can be like this, like be open to what it can be like. And that is coming from a perspective of, I'm also here to build my equanimity, right? I'm also here to build the balance of my mind. And this doesn't mean that I sit down and I'm like, well, I'm not going to try to focus. Like, if it happens, it happens. Like, it's not that level of, well, I'm not going to do anything. If it happens, it happens. No, I come, I show up, I sincerely meditate. I sincerely put effort into focusing. And when I get distracted, I'm like, okay, I'm distracted. That's fine. I'm going to try again. And then I'm going to try again. And this trying, I used to make it so intense that it was actually being counterproductive. And the way I started to recognize what is trying too much is like when I'm focusing on my breath, if I start to force my breath or there's tension in my breath, that means there's tension in me. That means I'm trying too hard, right? And so it's kind of coming from a place of, I'm going to be firm in trying to be focused, yet I'm going to be relaxed about it at the same time. I'm not going to overexert because then that is counterproductive and it's actually putting more stress, right? This practice that's supposed to take stress away now all of a sudden is adding more stress, not because the meditation is wrong, but just that I was doing it wrong, right? It's like if you went to the gym and you read in the newspaper, oh, well, the world's strongest man is able to deadlift 1,000 pounds, and you never worked out in your life and you try to go lift 1,000 pounds and you just overstrain, you're going to hurt yourself and it's not going to be fun, right? And so that pain that's caused is not the pain that you wanted. That's not the effort that you should be putting into. You recognize, hey, look, I'm not the world's strongest man. I am me. I may not be as strong, or I'm stronger than this neighbor, that neighbor, whatever it might be, but I'm going to see what level works for me. What level am I putting effort in that is healthy and that's sustainable? And that's how you look at meditation. It's not about uh, being focused for X amount of time, right? It's not a performance. It's not like a, 80% efficiency, like none of that. You try your best. Your mind on a daily, monthly, weekly, no time frame decides whether you're going to have an easy, easier to focus session or a harder to focus session. And in turn, it's like what's going on in your life. Sometimes there's just, difficult things happening, and your mind, when you sit down to meditate, will just roll in that. And that's completely fine. That's why you're building equanimity is, I have this thing that happened that is gonna play in my mind this whole hour. I already even know it, right? So some stuff like I remember going through a heartbreak and ending a long-term relationship. For months after that, I knew that in my 1 hour meditations, I was not expecting myself to be focused uninterrupted for an hour. And I knew, like, forget that, even for minutes at a time, I was like, I know I'm going to roll in this, yet I still tried my best. And what is trying my best is literally every time I remember that I'm distracted, just gently and firmly bringing my awareness back to my breath or my sensations. And just literally that's it. It's like, can I, every time I'm aware of myself in this meditation session, I'm just going to come back. And whether that's 3 times in an hour or 300 times in an hour, I'm not going to judge them any differently. I'm going to remain equanimous. I'm going to embrace and accept what is and what becomes, and I'm going to be completely okay with it. And so that's where the equanimity is important, and where it's actually very helpful, because it translates to the real world almost one to one. If you can be okay with things internally not going the way that you want, and being able to at the same time act on it, respond to it, be able to still direct it, be able to think about it, be able to feel it, not, pull away from it, and make the right decision on it, that it will translate to life. So the next time that you tell yourself, I'm not having a good meditation session because I'm being so distracted, rephrase that to, I'm really working on my equanimity and I'm having a hard time. Every time I get distracted, I judge myself. Every time I get distracted, I feel down. I feel disappointed. That's what you're working on, is that disappointment. Your brain is telling you, your mind is saying, I'm giving you a chance to develop this part of your mind because we need this part of your mind to develop. And so don't look at it as you're failing at being at focusing, and more like, oh, I'm having an opportunity to work on this. It's kind of like if you're, I just love using the example of the body and building weights and stuff, lifting weights. It's kind of like you can lift weights, you can also stretch, right? You don't say stretching is failing. Like, you still need stretching. You still need to stretch your body, and that is a success. You're just doing something completely different. Or if you're a yogi and you just do a bunch of yoga, getting into different poses, you don't say, well, lifting weights is a waste. It's not. It's just something different. They're both important. And so in meditation, when your focus is very hard to maintain, the skill that you're building is equanimity, a very, very important skill. Another shift that I had to do to look at it is, first, I will agree meditation's hard. Like, sitting down for however long you're sitting down, trying to understand all these things and equanimity and awareness, trying your best to stay focused. It is hard. It is hard not to judge yourself. It is hard to be present. It's hard to be aware, especially in the silence of meditation. If you've never meditated before, you've never meditated regularly for long periods of time, it puts the light on very uncomfortable things that never would have come up if you just got home from work, binge watched, had some dinner, talked to people, just stay external, go to sleep, wake up, and just keep your focus outside. You'll avoid a lot of uncomfortable things inside. And when you meditate, it creates space for those uncomfortable things, and those things are uncomfortable. Now, I won't go into that it's healthier to deal with it. I mean, it is healthier to deal with it, and you should deal with it and all that. But the point I'm making here is that it is hard, and it is uncomfortable, and it does suck sometimes, and it is boring sometimes, and sometimes it does feel monotonous, right? There's all these things that make meditation hard, from an emotional, from a mental, from a physical perspective, right? Like, sometimes my knees hurt, sometimes my back, sometimes I'm just moving so much in a meditation because my body just is so uncomfortable. Like, you name it, the discomfort is there. So why do I keep going? I keep going for many reasons. And as I was talking about in this video, the quality of the person I am when I meditate regularly and the quality of the person that I am when I don't, huge difference between those two qualities that I have internalized and I've come to just accept in myself. The other thing, meditation is hard, but life is harder. Life is so freaking hard. Like, trying to live, trying to fulfill your needs, trying to understand what this is, having this brain and this mind that is so focused on understanding things so that it can know, to be safe, to be comfortable, trying to achieve dreams, right? Having like these social things that you're trying to fit into, but then saying, where do they come from? and then realizing later that you also would want to do those things and maybe not, and just finding balance. How do I deal with just everyday stress? How do I deal with my work? How do I deal with waking up feeling sometimes disgusting inside, sometimes amazing, sometimes things happen to make you feel good, sometimes things don't happen to make you feel good. I mean we can all admit life is pretty fucking hard. And I don't mean to curse, but life is intense. Like, life is hard. It's not easy. It is very, it's something else entirely. And when you don't meditate, when I don't meditate, that hardness is overwhelming. That hardness is crushing. That hardness makes me feel so hopeless. And in that state, I get the misery of the world, and I get why people, would want to end it, why people think life is a horrible place and Earth is a horrible place and humans are horrible. I get it. But with meditation, it's still hard, but that hardness is manageable. That hardness is not an enemy. Maybe not a friend, but definitely not an enemy. That hardness becomes an opportunity. And sometimes that hardness fades away, realizing that it's all in your hands. And by that I mean it's hard in you because life is in you. Life isn't out there. Life is in here. And when your equanimity becomes more developed, even the hard things in life, you start to embrace with acceptance. You just start to be like, this is what's going on. There's evil in the world. I mean, that's just what's going on. You remove the judgment, you remove the expectations of, well, it shouldn't be that way and it should be this way that I want it to be. And not to say that you're condoning violence or evil or saying it's all right or anything like that, but that you can just accept it as a statement of reality. Just as, eventually every planet will get destroyed. Every star will get destroyed. And in it, like when our sun explodes, however many years from now, it'll suck up the 3 inner planets. So Earth will burn to death. And if Earth was a being, right? Well, you would say, damn, the sun being is about to literally burn to death the Earth being. Is that evil? That's just how it's like when that happens, that's what's happening. And so it's kind of that where you start to take things less personal, where I can accept that in order for, me to exist, I have to consume food. And even if I'm fully vegetarian, my cells strip apart the cells of the vegetables and the fruits and the beans and all of that good stuff. My cells are literally ripping apart these other cells and taking its energy. And I know people say, well, it's not the same because when you're destroying another human being, and I know, I get it. I totally agree with you, right? There's a certain standard that humans must meet to each other, that, well, you can't say, well, cells, destroying each other, or chemical reactions happening where one is taking the life of the other, or the, constituency of the other. It's not the same, and it's not the same. And then at the same time, it kind of is the same. It's just that in the human form. So anyway, I don't want to delve into morality and stuff at this point. But just a few key lessons. Being consistent in meditation is very important to be able to see those life changing benefits. And those life changing benefits are very subtle. It's very subtle to see that you're a little calmer 3 hours later when you're at work and you're having a conversation with a coworker. It's harder to see unless you've done many cycles and you just have the experience that you wake up a little more refreshed in the morning when you meditate before bed, that you're more likely to make the hard decisions, that you're more likely to do your dishes. It's hard to see these subtle changes that meditation really affects, and harder still to see our attitude and understanding of meditation creates the experience that we're having. And so just remember, meditation burnout, it could all be a part of the process. It could all be, you just have to do your time and you just have to start and fail and start and fail. And we all do at some point with that. But just remember the things I shared in this video. And I'm sure as I continue my meditation journey 5, 10, 20 years from now, I'll have even more things that I've learned. But it's not about perfection, and it's not about your meditation session being good or bad. It's about how you show up, and it's about how you work and work hard. Work hard and yet work in the right way. Work gently yet firmly, right? That's how meditation needs to be treated, and really just change your perspective. There's no good and bad meditation sits. There's just developing one skill or another skill or another skill. That's just all it is. You're in the gym. You could be on the treadmill, you could be in the free weights, you could be in the swimming pool, you could be, right? You could be on the bikes, you could do many things. But because you're doing one and not doing a specific one doesn't mean you're failing. So just remember that there's different stations inside your mind when you're meditating with Vipassana. And equanimity is very important. So develop it well, and leave a comment. Have you started meditating, stopped, felt burnt out? Do you resonate with some of the things that I'm sharing? Thank you so much for watching. Take care.